And welcome once again to Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. Joining me, as he always does, is Juan Zarate. He's our national security analyst. Juan, good to see you.
Bob, great seeing you.
So a growing problem now in Gaza. Israel and Hamas look like they're on the edge of an all-out fight here.
Yeah, you have the escalation of tension and fighting, which is not just the tension around the killing of the 4 Israeli youths and the Palestinian youth and the protests that we've seen in the West Bank and Jerusalem, but now you see the Israelis striking into Gaza, preparing perhaps for a broader offensive against Hamas-related targets and leaders, and really an escalation that we haven't seen in a number of years. And it raises the question, Bob, of whether or not we're on the brink of a third intifada, an uprising from the Palestinians, and whether or not we're on the brink of another Israeli invasion into Gaza to take out Hamas and their sites and their infrastructure.
Does this look different to you than it has in the past? I mean, are we more worried about this one?
I think there's two things that are different, Bob. One is that you've had this coming at the tail end of the breakdown of the diplomatic process between Israel and Palestine. So there doesn't feel to be a diplomatic outlet right now. Things are very raw, and you've had the unity government between Fatah and Hamas, which has created tension and complications with the Israeli government. And so diplomatically, we're at the end of the rope in a sense, and then this is happening. And so there doesn't seem to be an outlet. Secondly, this is happening amid all of the turmoil and chaos in the region. And to date, in some ways, Israel's been spared any of the direct chaos and conflict of the Arab Spring and the revolutions that have come from it. In some ways, Israel's tried to stay out as much as possible, other than some strikes into Syria and elsewhere. But this, in some ways, brings the chaos and the tumult of the region now to Israel's doorstep. And so those two factors make this feel a little bit more intense and a little bit more dangerous.
Without the prospect or promise of some kind of diplomatic safety valve here, what will bring the temperature down? Because we see rockets continuing to go into Israel. Now, Israel's hitting Hamas positions from the sea and from the air. So how does everyone bring the temperature down?
Well, this requires leadership both on the Palestinian and the Israeli side to calm emotions, calm reactions. It also requires leadership from the outside. King Hussein from Jordan has often served as a quiet, brokering voice in these kinds of moments. The U.S. president has done that, obviously, and other times the U.S. Secretary of State. So there have to be sort of cooler heads that prevail at senior leadership positions. And you've heard this a little bit from Prime Minister Netanyahu, who said, look, we've got to make sure we remain calm. That said, on the ground, the reality is things are escalating.
Calm.
Right,
No.
and I think this is really a test of leadership on all sides to make sure that this doesn't spiral out of control. And at a certain point, leadership, especially on the Palestinian side, may not be able to control the street, even if they wanted to. And so this becomes a real dangerous moment and perhaps a flashpoint for greater conflict between Israel and the Palestinians and in the region.
And finally, as we wrap up here, so what do we watch for in the coming hours in the next day or two?
I think we have to watch whether or not the Israeli strikes into Gaza increase and whether or not there's an all-out offensive. I doubt you're going to see Israeli troops move in the way that we have seen in the past, but you're probably going to see intensity of strikes. Do you see a flare-up of the demonstrations in the West Bank? Do you begin to see the markers of a new intifada? And then what are we hearing from the leaders on all sides? Are we hearing voices of caution and calm, or are we hearing voices that are leading to further conflict and chaos? This is a really important moment, and so we've got to watch all those signs.
A developing crisis we have to keep tabs on. Well,
Absolutely.
Thanks as
Thank
always.
you, Bob.
And thanks for watching Flashpoints. I'm Bob Orr. We'll see you next time.